the verdict had been given to the public.
So how now that when the complaint from the Congress is transmitted to the Senate and you stand as senator judges,
right?
But I think majority of the senators have now become quite open about their
That's right.
their ideas.
That's why when the Senate meets to promulgate its own Senate rules of impeachment procedure, unless they adopt the previous one under the Estrada case, I would like to very respectfully suggest that there should be a gag rule on all senators once the impeachment process begins in the Senate. You cannot be a judge and keep on blabbing to the media about your partisanship in favor of or against the accused.
But is it all right to do that today? Like Frank Drilon, Senate President Frank Drilon, for example, has been very vocal. And so has been Ping Lacson or Jinggoy Estrada.
That's right. That is the paradox of impeachment as both a legal and a political process, but it lies within the hands of the senators themselves to try and make order out of what seems to be a chaotic procedure provided for in our Constitution, and one of the means of doing so is to write into the rules of the Senate a gag rule. Once the impeachment process has begun, we should all be absolutely silent in the face of media. Media itself can comment, but also I have an observation to make there. Sometimes the presence of the observer changes the observed.
Right.
So media must be sensitive to its own public obligations here. They cannot just keep on criticizing or reporting in the guise of undertaking journalistic functions. They have to be aware, to accept the fact that they themselves influence the process. So if they call it a corrupt process or a biased process, they're part of it.
In such a sensitive, socially sensitive issue.
That's right.
So are you really a contender for the Senate presidency?
I wish I were. I've been very candid. I've said, if it is offered to me, of course I will accept. I'm not going to play coy. But I have also said that in the world of reality, I do not stand a chance. I don't belong to a bloc. And basically, the campaign to become Senate President becomes feasible only if one already has a locked-in vote of how many members to a bloc, let's say 3 or 5, and then you begin to start hoping that the momentum might carry you to the required number of 13 votes. I don't have that block to start with.
All right, our last question is, when is changing sides good, and when does it become questionable? Maybe in your own conscience.
Well, yes, conscience is said to be the voice of the angel speaking to us. But there is a very real problem. When you think that you are communicating directly with God, what you don't need is canonhood. You don't need to be canonization. Is something you don't need. What you need is a good psychiatrist. So what I am saying actually is that morality is not a fixed Manichaean concept, like there's a black and a white and I'm right and you're wrong. There are so many gray areas in life. Life itself is ambivalent. We try and do the best we can. We struggle. That is what life is about. Our struggle during our mortal existence is what gives life meaning. So in my case, I accept the fact that I am both legal scholar and political practitioner, so I just have to try and reconcile these two aspects of my work and hope that this will pass muster with God.
Okay. It's always a fascinating time with you, Mrs. Senator. And next time, I'll make sure that you have the whole hour all to yourself. Okay? Thank you very much for your time tonight.